Bobby, rich and tall, they got the rhythm and the hype. Talking about the noise brigade, stirring up noise all night. They dive deep into the madness. No topic left unturned, from corn dog to Johnny Bench. It's the knowledge we have learned, LRG have learned. LRG shipping woes, they shed light on it all. No cryptids left unknown, they'll tear down every wall. The rebels of the podcast world, breaking all the rules, giving voice to the unheard, making sure no one falls. From wrestling to mysteries, they cover it all. Bobby, Rich, and Tom, they'll never let us fall.
Yo, what's going on, man?
What's up, man? So there was a great something happened that's of great national interest, and we absolutely have to discuss it. You know, it's extremely important going forward. EA finally released a new college football game.
Yeah, and dude, it's been what 11 years?
10 years.
10
Because
years.
the last
10
one
years.
was 14. So
Yeah,
no,
10.
11 years.
11 years, yeah, 1 year
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it's crazy. And man, I remember playing the absolute tar out of the early the early zeros ones. 03, 04 up to 08. You know, really played a ton of those. I'm going to be honest, I don't remember playing a ton of anything beyond 9. So, like, I was really out of it for more than that 11 years. But man, it's so exciting. I have not picked it up yet. I know you have, and I gotta really pick your brain on this because this should be fun. I'd love to hear what you got to say on this one.
So 08 was the last one that I really dug in on too. So I don't have any real experience past 08 until this one. So I've missed we talked a couple times. I've gotten the past few years of Madden. And so that's been my football, what I've been doing with football for the past few years. And obviously there was no college football during that time. This is the first one, like we said, since 2014. And it's got some good, it's got some bad. And I guess so far I'm up to the national championship game. So I haven't completed a full season yet. But I did I've got Temple undefeated in the national championship game.
Nice.
Yeah. So that being said, what I will say to anyone who has not played college football yet and they haven't started their dynasty, if you've played any football game in the past 10 years, do yourself a favor. Don't start on freshman like I did. I figured, you know what? I'm digging back into college for the first time in forever. I don't know how much has changed between this and Madden. I'm going to I figured with that much lead time, with 11 years lead time, maybe it was a lot different. And it is a lot different as far as the playbooks are concerned, obviously. But what I would recommend is do not start on freshmen unless you just want to beat every team by like 100 points. Because either I'm super good at the game or it's just baby easy when you play on freshmen. Because I'm routinely scoring 100 points.
Can you up the difficulty as you're adjusting, or is it kind of locked in on that?
You can. I didn't, which that's on me. But I figured I would play the first season and see how it goes because I wanted to see what happens when you play tougher opponents.
Mm-hmm.
I just beat South Carolina, I think 112 to like 28 or something like that, or 26 because I blocked a couple extra points. It was, dude, it's a good game. It plays really well. But I find that a lot of times, especially against weaker opponents, it's one play drives. Like,
Mm.
I'm able to just drop back, bomb it to my number one receiver, and off we go. Or I'm able to give it to my, do a crack pitch, and he's done. Like the running back is in the end zone before I can blink.
So we all know that, you know, these scores are more akin to like Tecmo is what it's sounding like. Now, of course, with that even, you play the different human opponents or different teams. You know, those can even extend out more than one play drives. Not frequently, but you can. If depending upon your play calling. But you still run up the scores in those games. You always have, a lot of 60s, 70s, and beyond. And you pop on YouTube and see people routinely doing 100-point games. But to kind of in that same realm, with all the years of Madden now that have come out in between the last NCAA game and now, they always try to up the realism, and do different things with it. And you try to just have that, hey, not only just the presentation, but maybe I can find a difficulty of an opponent that suits my style, that we can make this a game. The in 24-21 instead of the 112 to 26. The question I was going to have, though, outside the difficulty part, because I'm not familiar with this with current generation of football games, because I haven't played them in a long time. But I know in MLB The Show, there is the like dynamic difficulties with everything. Is there a similar setting with that with college football?
So it says there is. I haven't really noticed it. It's not so much dynamic difficulty isn't what they have. It's more like the rubber band logic, where if you remember during NBA, like when you play NBA Jam, if you start absolutely destroying somebody, like the computer, they'll automatically start catching up to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I believe from the settings it has, but I haven't found that to be true.
Mm.
Now maybe if I mess around in the settings a little bit more, maybe I'll find something more like that. But so far, I've not been able to find anything like that in the settings.
Interesting. Now, as far as your squad, because I don't know, this is hard to do because there's like 100+ teams, and this is the first time in history with these games that you have real people. So we're not just talking about, back in 2008, you had maybe some representation of a person that was real based off of height and weight and number or whatever, but that was about as far as it got. The real names weren't there. There was no, I'm just trying to think of, there was no Peyton Manning or whatever. There was no whoever in those games.
Right.
You didn't have real people, but now you do, with the way that the NIL deals have all gone on here with this game. This is like the first big foray into it. Temple's roster, for example, from what your knowledge, seemed pretty on point with what it looks like in real life.
For the most part, it seems like it's square on. I'm looking at it now, like on the website, and it's fairly complete. There's some players, I guess, that didn't sign up for it. There's some players that didn't get added, or I haven't gotten to that part of the depth chart that I've, so I haven't seen them.
Right.
But for the most part, it looks like everybody that I've seen the names like pop up is actually on the team. So that's pretty cool. But it's really good game, man. The realism as far as with the players and everything, they did a good job of everybody that signed up is in. Arch Manning did not sign the NIL to be in it.
Hmm.
so he's not in it. But aside from him, I can't think of too many people that should be in it that aren't.
I just found the number out of sheer curiosity to see how much, or excuse me, how many real players. And EA made an announcement um, that the groundbreaking NIL program gave us the ability, us being EA, to include up to 11,390 real players. Now now they said that gave them the ability to include that. Obviously, Arch Manning was probably in that list, but did not, sign. And I don't have the number in front of me of how many people didn't, but there's your cap was 11,390 as
Right.
far as real players that were potentially added, which is crazy because at what were they given $600 a piece or something like that?
Yeah, I think it was like $600 a piece and a copy of the game. So
Yeah, so
essentially $670.
yeah, so you're looking at just the 600. You're looking at about 7 million there, which sounds like a substantial chunk of change. Um, but that game raked in through pre-orders $200 million.
Right.
So
And I'll tell you right now, so uh, there was I went to the local GameStop to pick up the game because now I'm in South Carolina, there's like I think 2 or 3 Walmarts and a GameStop, and that's the only places you can get games. So unfortunately, I'm forced to go to GameStop again.
you're in the real South now, even though you went north.
Yeah, yeah. Um, like there's no retro stores, there's no nothing. So I got my copy from GameStop, and we're going to talk about that towards the end. I want to talk about my experience with this GameStop, but there were a lot of people there. And when I was leaving, what they did is they opened, so they close at 8 o'clock every night
Hmm.
because we are in the South. And so they closed at 8 o'clock. And what they did is they opened from 8 to 9 to give people their pre-orders, first come, first serve basis.
Gotcha.
And so when I got there like 7:15, 7:30, something like that, got in line, and I was up towards the front of the line. By the time I left, the line was out into the parking lot, like way out. So I got there at a good time. Um, this game sold. I can't imagine that. Like they could probably give free copies of the next 5 years worth of games to everyone that bought a copy on launch day and still turn a profit.
Yeah,
That
I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, they
that's where they're at with it.
yeah, the pre-order stuff, just looking at the numbers, is crazy high, and rightfully so. Um, the people were clamoring for a new college football game. And like I said, it's been over 10 years. When I get everything settled back down as far as not traveling and work starts back up and not having a bunch of work done on my house, it's just lots of stuff going on. Definitely going to dive into it. I'm excited. I realize that certain colleges, like the college I went to, which is very well known for basketball, not so well known for football. So they're
Right.
not going to be in there. um, but the um, the things I was curious about, though, just with your interactions with other schools that you're playing, Temple against, like colors, logos, fields, how's everything look?
Everything looks great. Lincoln Financial Field, which is where Temple plays, looks fantastic. Every stadium that I've played in so far looks great. The one complaint that I have graphics wise is going to be that the grass or turf, depending upon where you're playing, obviously, looks a little weird. And I don't know if it's me just being nitpicky, but it looks almost a little too flat.
Mm.
Like, and I noticed this specifically at the link. Like, I don't know if it's just that maybe they're still under the assumption that the link uses some kind of turf instead of grass, but it's no, it's I don't know. It just looks kind of off.
Mm.
Which I guess I don't know. I could just be me nitpicking because there's so little to dislike about the game
Yeah,
that
I
I'm
saw
looking for stuff.
reason why I asked that. I saw an article that came out almost instantaneous to the release of the game, or almost right before it, I should say. People were complaining about the Stanford Cardinals and their logo and colors, and apparently they were using their previous logo, which and the EA had made a statement stating that I guess they weren't the only school that you would see some outdated logos with. But it was funny because when I initially read the complaint, and I get this if you're like a diehard Stanford fan, I could certainly see this, but it sounded more like the colors were just transposed. So it was like red on white instead of white on red, or vice versa. And it was like, oh boy, if that's the complaint that we're already seeing, it's like this is just going to get dragged. And it's like, I hope that's not the case.
Right. Well, and that's the thing too. Like, see, I, I think we discussed this too a little bit. I'm not a huge college fan previously. We've decided this year we're going to follow the Clemson Tigers. I follow Temple, but it's really hard to follow Temple in Florida and now in South Carolina because
Mhm.
none of their stuff is televised because they're not great. I think they were 3-9 last year or 3-8, something like that. They were not a good team last year. So it's really hard to catch their games out of market.
Right, right.
So when I was able to see a lot of their games when they were good, they had a black uniform. They had a black helmet, they had a black jersey, black, like everything black as like an alternate. I don't know if they still use that or not. It's not in the game.
Mm.
The only variation you can really do, they have their away jerseys or their away uniforms and their home uniforms. The only variant that they have, aside from because they wear white helmets with their white jerseys and white pants, and they wear cherry helmets with their cherry jerseys and cherry pants. The only variant was on the cherry helmets. You can either do a white face mask or a cherry face mask.
So I was curious as to I pulled the last year's. It's actually a really cool website, cfbuniform.com, but it shows pictures of every week that Temple played in 23 and what they wore, because that's how we have to base this, right?
Right.
So you have anywhere from red on white, white on white, red on red. But in week 3, you have a black top, so black uniform top, and red pant. And the same goes with week 12, except it's black on black. Other than that, it was pretty much all white on red, or red on red, or in that combo. Except for week 9, it was all gray.
Gray.
Yeah, yeah. So
Huh.
yeah, it's interesting. I'm gonna flick this link to you real quick, just so you can kind of peruse this while we're chatting. But that's why I was curious. I was generally curious about what you thought about the uniforms and the colors and the logos of just everyone that you saw. I know that you're not going to know, and I'm not either for certain. Especially at this stage in the game, how many different uniforms these schools do have, and the fact that a lot of this stuff seems to be interchangeable.
Right.
But yeah, that kind of sucks though, because like that's what you at least what you just were talking about with the black uniforms, like they still have them, and so you would think that like you could include them as an easy alternate.
Right.
So
But
I don't know, but
now EA has said that they're going to be releasing they're going to be making updates, as the game goes. So hopefully the uniforms will get updated. One of the things I did find on players who are not in, apparently it says that many players who may not be in the game right at launch were transfers late in the cycle who weren't officially on rosters in time for the cutoff dates. A few simply fumbled the paperwork, and there were likely a few misevaluations that can be corrected post-launch.
Sorry, another question for you on this then.
Yeah.
So not just the logos, whatever. What about the gamer side of it? The creation side. Is there any of that in there?
There is. I don't mess with that stuff too much. I know that people are upset because there's certain restrictions on it, but I haven't dug in too much. I turned it on. I played one like exhibition game just so that I could play it the day that I got it and installed it. And then I went from that, and the next day I started my Dynasty.
Gotcha.
So I didn't really screw around too much with the creative, make your own player, or which is in there. You can make your own player, make your own school is in there, but I feel like it's limited as far as what you can do with it. Editing, I don't know too much what they allow you to do.
Right.
I do know that there are names and stuff that it will not let you do. I think, as a matter of fact, I don't think, other than your created player, you can edit any of the names or likenesses of the players. Now I could be wrong on that, but I believe that was part of the thing for getting the NIL rights, was that you couldn't actually create the player without their approval.
That makes sense. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that a lot. I mean, at the end of the day, you're still talking about people that aren't professionals. This is just kind of a semi-professional way, almost, if you will, is about as close as you're going to get. They're still in college. So
Right.
even with the NIL deal, you're still, to me, it's still gray. There's some still gray area there.
Now, what I'll say too is I have noticed some of the mascots are in it. Some of them aren't. So, like Hooter the Owl for Temple, not in the game. But the mascot for the Gamecocks was in the game.
Right. Bigger school, or bigger, you know what I mean?
Right. But they didn't. But the Gamecocks mascot, he was seen on the sidelines, but he didn't do anything. Like, it was really weird. Like, he was there, but he wasn't. So I don't know if they're going to improve that. Like, I mean, I guess they didn't really have much to celebrate as they were getting their brains bashed in.
That might be why.
Or whatever. So maybe that's why. But
I don't know. EA and mascots, though, are always really funny with me. Like, even going to the MLB The Show and how goofy the Fanatic looks.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know that you could actually get the Fanatic right, but like, it's, to me, has never even looked close. So,
well, they did EA did really good with Gritty in the NHL games.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
They just cover a lot of it up with the uniform.
Yeah, that's probably it. I mean, he's like in the crowd and he's like standing there menacingly, like you can see him in the in the stands and shit. Like, it's pretty good. But there's one of the cool things that they did is, and it's something we're going to see with Madden this year, is there's different commentary teams, and it's a really good idea. The way they do it, the way they break it down is the top games are covered by Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit. The other games are covered by Jesse Palmer, Reese Davis, and Desmond Howard. And then Kevin Connors does the in-game updates.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'll say about them is that you can tell, I don't want to talk shit because I'm not, obviously not a commentator of any type. but Chris Fowler doesn't always sound like he's actually interested in the game. What I compared it to was the Dinklebot from Destiny from the beta, when Peter Dinklage just came in and read the lines and was like, "This wizard came from the moon," and like shit like that. Like he just seems like he's reading off the script. Like, but then there's times when he's like really into it and it sounds really good. But I much prefer their Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler's to the other team, only because there's not as much stuff that's out of context. Like, again, because I was playing on freshmen and I was destroying people, and my defensive linemen were like racking up sacks, there would be like, we would get to 3 sacks in a game, and even though we were leading college football in sacks and we had one of the number one defenses, I think it was number one defense, Jesse Palmer would be like, "Wow, this is surprising to see from this team, consider that they're generating this much pressure, considering that they're one of the worst passing
Oh,
defenses in the league," and stuff like that. Like,
it
where
wouldn't update like real time week to week. It would kind of go back to how it was at the beginning.
I don't know what it was going to, but they would talk about how they were a top 10 defense, and they were this and they were that, like the whole time, and then all of a sudden you would hit a certain number of sacks in a game, and they would comment on how much pressure you're getting, and they would say, "Oh, it's great to see them finally getting pressure," when they weren't able to get pressure for the past 10 games because they're such a shitty defense. Like, and obviously I'm paraphrasing because he doesn't call it shitty defense. I would kind of like it more if he did. But
especially in like your low end college games, they just go off.
He's like,
but it's like a commentary in video games in general. And I'll say this real quick, not sports related, but I picked up playing a bit of Skyrim again because I wanted to. But I in the same vein, I was running with a party, a party member, computer controlled, that we were getting attacked, and I would kill a couple of the bad guys, and the computer controlled guy would be like, "Oh, I guess they just ran off." After they literally just watched me kill them right in front of them.
well, so, that was willful ignorance. That way, if you got, if you had to go to court, they couldn't be brought to trial. Oh no, they ran away.
I don't know what happened.
Plausible deniability.
But no, so it's funny though, in video games, I noticed with at least the show, as I had played that more recently and newer versions of it, some of it's robotic still, and some of it's the same way. It's just not right. But it's gotten better, and there's a little more, that's one thing I liked what you said there about, there's times where it's a little more emphatic. They actually care about it. And that's what I noticed. Like, yeah, it does get, especially like when there's like exciting moment, home run hit, or I assume in college football case, touchdown or whatever.
No, home runs.
Okay, hitting home run. Yeah,
Yeah, it's home runs. Home runs and home run.
I knew there was a difference between college football and the NFL. So
yeah.
But no, like that it just it never ceased to amaze me though, like how 20 years ago we expected it to be redundant. That's just how it was. That's something they didn't really work on. In fact, it was almost a joke because you could play these games and be like, "Oh, they're gonna say, and he scores a touchdown," in the same way every single time because that was the recording. That's what they had. But now it's cool because watching videos online, or having watched Katie play Madden, or having played MLB The Show or whatever, and all these things, and it's like, wow, they just said it differently. Like, it's cool. Like, they actually took that time to do that, and that's what I think about. It's cool about the college football is like they actually have a bunch of different commentary teams. So while it might not be as good, and for certain teams, it in a way it kind of represents a little bit of realism. Right. I mean, have you ever tried to watch a lower line college football game? The commentary is not very good.
No, it's not.
It's best on mute.
Yeah. So along with all these things, I got a couple more things that are in my quote unquote bad category. So one thing is there's no ability to do mass substitutions. So like and maybe it was just in 2K, or maybe it was in the old college games. I don't remember where it was, but I know in some game that I used to play, maybe it was even the old Madden games. There was an option to do a mass sub. So like you would put second team offense in or second team defense, so on and so forth. I would love that option in this, because once you get to a certain point where you're beating somebody bad enough, let's save our guys. Because so three things we're going to talk about. So one of them being this. So there's no option to mass substitute your squad. What happens is if you're winning by 50 or more points at the half, in the second half, all of your substitutes will be in.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They do an automatic substitute. So that's cool, but I want to be able to control that, because there's players. One of the things you'll have during the year is if players aren't getting enough playing time, they'll threaten the transfer.
Gotcha.
So you want to make sure that if you have the ability to, you're swapping people in and you're cycling people in and out and stuff. So that would be helpful. The music, really good for the most part. There's one song that I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a real song. I don't know if it's made up just for the game. I don't know if it's a fever dream that I'm having repeatedly while I'm playing the game. It is a combination of like hip hop and mumble rap. And it's like ballin'. And then they say something else, and I don't understand what the fuck they're saying. Just I understand the ballin' part, and then and it's just like it's so monotonous and just dumb. And I wish there was a way to change it. So like remember in 2K5, and we're always going to go back to 2K5. In 2K5, you could actually import your own clips of songs to play at certain times during the game. Like if it was third down, third and long, if you could have it play Thunderstruck, or you could have it play like Hell's Bells or Shoots and Ladders by Korn or whoever. And you can't in this game, and you can't even turn songs off. So
that sucks.
now what I will say is everything else in the game, all the other music in the game is fucking awesome. The only there's Sandstorm by Zombie Nation, Welcome to the Jungle by Guns N' Roses, and then there's a couple techno songs here and there, and then the rest is all just drumline music and band music, and it's phenomenal.
I looked it up and I see ICPs in it too.
Are they?
Yeah, so
maybe that's dude.
When I'm clowning.
Maybe that's who it is.
It's ICP. The only other rap, I assume this is rap. I hope to God I'm right on this. Artist, his name is Sheck Wes, and the song is Mobamba. I'm making an assumption there. I don't know. I think that's a rap song. He's a rapper. Yep.
Okay. So I'm gonna have to. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure out who's what songs are what.
Only others, and I don't know if this is actually in it. I pulled up a list that it shows that this is rumored to be in it, but is a Kodak Black song, who's another rapper.
Yeah, I know who Kodak Black is. That one is the dude that had the diamond sewed into his forehead, right?
That's right. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he got caught fucking on camera at a Florida Panthers game.
Yeah, so this is just aging the crap out of us, because I just had to look up who Sheck West was. I just made the assumption because I was looking at the list, because a lot of sports games these days are a lot of rap, hip hop, soundtracks. It's not like it used to be. It used to be where you could, like you said, upload your own stuff, and
right,
and it did have a varied a soundtrack that was more. It did have rap and hip hop on it, but then you had some alternative, you had some rock, you had some whatever. So that's a cool thing. I like what you said about this. It does, even though it's a handful of songs, does sound like it's varied at least.
Yeah,
And that's something. At least it's not all one genre.
yeah, yeah.
Um, you know,
It's I've liked the music so far. It's just that one fucking song that I'll figure out who it is, and I'm gonna like delete that song from my memory. Hopefully, eventually.
I bet it's
Uh,
ICP.
dude, it might be. It very well could be. I could see them singing something fucking terrible. I'm trying to think what else. So that was two. Oh, the third thing. So you have a wear and tear system in this game for injuries. And basically, it seems like there's no real injuries where like you're gonna have multi-game injuries. So I had somebody break a toe, but that's been the most like intense injury that I've seen so far.
Do you think that's because of the level of difficulty you're playing on?
That's what I'm thinking. I'm hoping that, but other people have commented on it too. And so I'm thinking it may actually take the place of injuries is this wear and tear because they don't want these players to gain a reputation of being injury prone or something like that because they're worried about it hurting their future draft stock or anything like
Oh,
that. Now I could be way off base. It may just be that I'm playing on baby mode. So
oh, wow. Yeah, now that you're right, that makes a lot of sense.
now,
Yeah, that's one thing. Yeah, if you are for whatever reason listening to this, check out there's a lot of articles. IGN has a good one on wear and tear explained. That makes a lot of sense actually. Um, as to yeah, you wouldn't want to be pegged as somebody that was injury prone.
right.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. That's a huge departure from obviously Madden or any other pro sports game. Um, that's interesting. Um, huh.
Yeah.
Wow, I never even thought about that. That's
Yeah, so that's something that's in the game that I'm not sure where I fall on it yet. If there are actual injuries, then I like the system. But again, I'm playing on baby mode apparently. So after this season, once I win the national championship and I increase my stock and get my pay bump, then I'll play on another higher difficulty and we'll see how it goes and see if there's injuries and stuff.
yeah, it's interesting. The wear and tear thing is almost like it's like a NASCAR. You're basically looking at the way the different body parts are, and that's interesting.
Yeah. It's like
When
brake wear and tire wear and shit, but it shows your arms and your legs and your torso and all the different parts of your body with like on a heat map. And the more red they get, the more damaged they are, and the more likely you are to get injured.
the wrestling games are like that,
Yeah,
or used to be anyway. I don't know if they still haven't played in a while, but where that yeah, you could actually like focus on an arm and damage that arm enough to where it was basically unusable.
right, right.
Uh, but no, it's that's interesting. No, that's a good comment. I don't know that that was certainly something I never thought about. It makes a lot of sense actually. Is that these people that have signed up for these NIL deals, yeah, they don't want to be the ones that are tabbed as injury prone because that's got to be programmed in there. I mean,
Right.
uh, even though that's unfortunately the case,
Yeah,
yes, you will have a player in the college, in college that's injury prone. I mean, that's
yeah, it happens.
yeah.
Like I had in Madden the one year, I had Landon Dickerson. I want to say it was Madden 23. Landon Dickerson from the Eagles. He would he would get hurt. He would hurt, like separate his shoulder or something like that. He would come back. He would play like a half. Then he would separate his shoulder again. It would just happen every time. Every time he would come back, he would separate his damn shoulder. And it got to the point where he was out of the lineup. Like just I couldn't use him. I traded him. Now I would never do that in real life because Landon Dickerson's awesome, but like in the game, he was so injury prone that he was unusable. And
Right,
so
right.
due to whatever glitch I'm sure it was a glitch. It couldn't have been programmed that way that like, oh, Landon Dickerson is going to develop a glass shoulder. Like, nobody programmed it that way. I'm sure it was some kind of glitch, but it happened.
And I remember, and it's funny that we'll have to get into this conversation another time, like really dive back into sports video games at some point. And we've done it before on various podcasts, but I remember, I can't, maybe you'll remember this. There was a baseball game in the mid '90s. It was the first time that they, not the first time that injuries were introduced, because that had been kind of an ongoing thing with Tecmo for several years prior. But one of the injuries was for the paternity list. It was the first time that it ever come up, but I think it came up as either pregnant or pregnant wife. And that was how they put it on the paternity list for like 3 games. But to me, it was like super interesting because it got really realistic at that point. And it may have been either a Tecmo baseball game for the SNES or like an ESPN baseball game or something in that iteration, Super Bases Loaded 3 or whatever the heck those were, in that era of games.
Right.
The like 95 time frame. But yeah, no.
Was it Triple Play?
Might have been. I don't know. I kind of vaguely recall it being for the Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah, Triple Play didn't come out for that.
So yeah, it would have predated Triple Play, but it was in that. It was like the dead end of the Super Nintendo's like life cycle. So like 94, 5 time frame. I don't know. I just thought it was interesting because like I remember Tecmo, being to me anyway, being the first that did the injury thing. And I don't remember those injuries in that game lasting any more than 3-4 weeks though.
Yeah.
If that, they usually come back pretty quick. But it was cool because they still had it. So it's kind of interesting fast forward all this time and kind of here we're at where it's like, yeah, you can break your toe, but
yeah. So speaking of toes, one of the good things that they added to this, and I'm sure I would assume it's going to be in Madden. I don't want to say I'm sure it'll be in Madden. They changed the kicking mechanic. And so instead of the normal like click that you have to do, there's a meter that goes like this, kind of like the old Tecmo meter.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to stop it in the green, so at the top of the arc, and then you hold it down and it fills an arrow. And you have to direct that arrow which way to go.
Ooh.
Direct the kick. And if you hold it too long, it throws your accuracy all off. And then it'll affect you if you're, like, say you're kicking an extra point and you fuck up, it'll affect you on the kickoff.
Really?
When you go to kick off, the arrow is like wagging.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it's pretty cool. It's the first major change that I can remember to the kicking system in forever. So
yeah, you would assume it's come to Madden. I don't know.
Yeah, you would assume. But by and large, I guess I should say that, I'm having a lot of fun with it. The game itself seems really good. Like I said, I'm gonna win the national championship first, and then I'm gonna bump the difficulty because let's face it, kids, I'm playing with the Temple Owls. Okay, they were rated when I took over like a 74 or something like that. I've got them up to an 80 because of my coaching. So nice. I'm hoping that winning the national championship, and I've gotten, I think, 2 or 3 4-star recruits. That's the best I could muster. I couldn't get any 5 stars because I was a garbage franchise, poverty franchise at first. But hopefully after, we win the national championship, I'll be able to get a little bit better quality of player coming in, and it'll make it a little bit more palatable to play on a higher level. I did want to mention, because I picked up one of the most reviled pieces of hardware that we have talked about as far as how Wii View it to play it, and I got it from GameStop, and I got a PS5, and I had originally ordered a PS5, the fat one, from Walmart, and they never shipped it, and I wasn't going to have it in time to play the game. And I didn't know when I was going to get it, so I canceled the pre-order or the order for that, and I got my money back. And then I went and I got it from GameStop. So unfortunately, I have the one where it has to register the fucking disk drive. I'm not real thrilled about it. I might pawn it off on Peyton. We'll see. Not sure. Not sure what I'm going to do with it yet. But so I bought it at GameStop, and the guy at GameStop, look, we all know they have to meet their goals for their pre-orders and warranties and whatnot. This dude added the warranty and then tried to tell me, "Oh, we got to sell them with a warranty." I was like, "No, you don't." There's a no, you don't. Take the warranty off. All right, well, let me put you on with the lower warranty. I said, "No, I do not want a warranty." He goes, "All right, man. Well, I mean, I really don't feel comfortable selling it to you like that because these things come back all the time." I said, "I don't want your warranty." Here's the thing. I'm buying a brand new PlayStation 5. If it's that shitty that it has to come back, I just won't buy it.
Yeah. Well,
So right now, what
you've
you're
got a
doing
factory too.
Yeah, not to mention that there's a factory warranty on it. But if it's that terrible of a system, I'm not going to buy it. So you're telling your people, by doing this deceptive fucking selling practice, you're telling the people that they shouldn't buy the product that they're buying. And unless, because you're such a great guy, you offered them that warranty, then they can buy it. No, dude, work on your shit.